Hello. It's Sunday already. So, yesterday we had a very successfully happy stream. I got to my third strip. We are officially over halfway now. So, happy days. Here we go. Middle's as good a place to start as any. So yes, we are, and yes, I'm still wearing the same brown cardigan. I do wear them a few days in a row, a couple of days usually. So. And I have a couple of these just to make life even more complicated. My hands feel heavy today. Oh dear. Oh dear. Is the poor little puppy not comfortable having 90% of the couch? The dogs are sitting on most of the couch and I've got like a corner to sit on. This has got a little bit tangled. They do this, and it's amazing how they do it. Oh, yawn. Excuse me. Oh, already. Not a good sign. Yeah, that's kind of done. Right? And do this. I have this horrid feeling that I'm not really quite got enough thread on my bobbins. I do think it is going to be close. As mentioned before, one of the biggest problems with this is there's no hard and fast rule, there's no easy way to work it out. So, as a result, you guess and hope. Some, like this one, look closer than others. My only fear is that they'll all run out at exactly the same time, and then it'll look really dumb with loads of joins in it. But because this has to be either the left or right one, whichever way you think about it, because I've got the hard edge on one side, so I can't exactly mask it somewhere. The only other thing I could do would be start again. Don't really want to do that, funnily enough. I'm gonna put the yawn story up. Alright. We could do with some music. I feel music feels like the thing to be done. Part of me wants to do an audio book. To be honest. But that would take more setting up. So. Let's do clicky things. Clicky, clicky. Get there. back's not happy. Don't know quite why. It's not like I've done anything exciting. But my back's being a bit grumpy. Which may mean this stream is shorter than I wanted. Kind of not what I wanted, but there we go. Doesn't like the weight of my hands being far forward. Weather's pretty grim, windy and rainy. you. How you doing? Yay! I appreciate you when you make it, and I understand when you can't. I'm not so bad. I've had worse days. I've had better days. We're over halfway now. Down first strip, that is. It's put a bit of perspective on it, but so how have you been, and what have you been up to? I managed to. I've been playing Path of Exile 2, and I managed to delete my best character this season. I don't know how the hell I did. I mean, I was having a tidy up in the old season. I think the part of the problem is you select from the drop down, standard, League of Abysmal or whatever, right? But the moment you do anything too much, it reverts back to everybody. And I was trying to clear them out because, frankly, once they reverted to standard, chances are I'm not actually going to play them, so they're just taking up slots. And I must have deleted my ranger as part of that, so kind of bummed. So I've got to start again. Yeah. Especially when, I mean, you'll watch, you know, if you watch a lot of, let's call them the better people, playing Path of Exile, they can, like, get to the end of Act 1 in less than an hour. Yeah, it's usually 5 or 6 for me. And I can't explain why I'm that much slower. I really can't. But it is, you know. And I'm talking even the streams. So, for example, if you watch, like, they did a load of, well, I won't call them speed runs, but they did a bunch of races at the end of last season. You watch those guys, and they start on an account that is absolutely, hey, not scout, that is absolutely empty. So it's not like they've got twink gear and stuff they can get their characters from other runs and all the rest of it. It is just what they've started with, you know, as God gave them. And it takes me 5 or 6 hours to get to Count Greganor or whatever it is, Grianor or whatever his name is. And yeah, I can't. I just can't do that, it seems, in less than about 5 hours. So, you know, I mean, I've never made it out of Act 3. I know there's 4 now, but I've never made it out of Act 3. That last boss in Act 3 has defeated me every time. But it takes me a long time to get there. It takes me like a month plus or more to get there. So, and I do find it frustrating because I don't understand, given that it's not, I mean, obviously the random generating these games is a lot of it, but these guys seem to be able to consistently work with nothing. Every drop I get seems to be for somebody else. So if I'm a ranger, I get crossbows and wands. If I'm a witch and need wands, all I get are bows and swords. I just never seem to get stuff for my character. And you know, it just means that I find myself sitting there, you know, I've got kind of my underpants on and a wet noodle, and so I die a lot. And this season, one thing that does annoy me is that the abyssal things, if you die, they disappear. But it might not be, I mean, I'm not going to say it's not my fault, but, you know, if I get, and I know I'm not the only person who finds this, is sometimes you're going through a map and you're kind of going flick, 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 and all these mobs are dying. And then something will go, and you're now dead, and you're like, what? What was that? I didn't even see what hit me. And, I mean, in that sense, ARPGs have always felt slightly unrealistic. Now, I know they're all made up in the first place. Let's ignore that. But they don't have any sense in realism. Because if I can kill 50 mobs at a time, that doesn't seem right. You know, I should be walking around like God of all. I'm used to RPG games where you fight kind of one-on-one. And that has far more realism to me, because in the real world, man does not take on many. Man takes on an individual, right? And so with that in mind, I do have a bit of a struggle with the ARPG genre, just because almost once you get off the beach in Path of Exile, you're expected to fight many mobs at a time. Now, admittedly, to start with, it's 2 or 3, then 4 or 5, then 6 or 7. Then by the time you get to Red Vale or whatever it's called, it's more like 8 or 9. But when you're kind of clearing half screens almost at an early age, it does seem very, very weird that if you're capable of such clearance, that anything would be a problem. But of course, the problem with the bosses is that they're very unique in the sense of, let's say you're in a desert area, so you have desert type animals. Well, they're going to be susceptible to cold because they're not used to it. Except not in these games, but, you know, let's go with it. But the boss won't be. The boss is always very different, and you need almost specific gear to kill each and every boss. So even Grianor, you've never needed, like, cold stuff until you meet Grianor. But cold stuff doesn't generally drop. Thorns does, but no one likes thorns, apparently. Oh, it's raining again. That's right, I wondered what the noise was. It's just one of those really weird things that I enjoy it, I really do. I can spend many hours not getting very far. And I don't have a problem with not getting very far, because, well, if I could walk into it, spend 2 hours and I kind of completed the game, well, it wasn't a challenge. It does annoy me a little bit that I do struggle as much as I do with the bosses. It reminds me very much of, like, TOCA games on the console. Because the console games, you know, TOCA and the like, if you've got TOCA, you know, if you don't come in the top 3 in the first 2 races, it will not let you play any of the other circuits. So if you happen to suck at the first 2 circuits, that's it. Your £45 game is done now. You will not pass. And I hate that kind of gatekeeping. You know, if I've paid for it, I have as much right to play as anybody else. And I wish this table would be level. I swear I level it out, and the next time I look, it's moved back. So yeah, I'd like to feel I could play the game more, but I don't. It kind of seems to hate me. Now, I do know it's random. I know that when Darth Microtransaction did a kind of race, I thought, screw it, I'll join in, because, you know, it doesn't cost money, so I joined in. And I did really, really well for me. So it was hardcore, so you died and lost everything. That was fine. But I got to Grianor really quite quickly for me. Partly because at the stupid witch thing, hag, in, like, the second zone you're fighting, I got a unique weapon that was for what I was playing, and it hit like a truck, which really helped, because I went around going poof 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 and killing everything. So the worm died really quickly. You know, I cleared through all of those kind of things. I got through the hunting grounds, which usually is a bit of a challenge for me. I got through Feanor or wherever it is with the many sort of like the tree hut thing. Got my spirit thing, got all of that, and of course died to Grianor. But yeah, which really annoyed me because I was doing really well for me. No, I mean, like, I was in the top few until then. I probably would have died milliseconds later otherwise. But yeah. I also kind of had a bit of a revenge thing last night, which made me laugh for all the wrong reasons. As you know, when I get raided by people, I kind of start giggling because my text to speech thing is going nuts, but also because I'm not used to it. I'm not used to having much of an audience, and you know, I really don't know quite what to do with myself. So being British, I laugh about it. Well, when I went to sign off yesterday, I still had quite a few viewers. I mean, quite a few. I mean, I had like 20 plus, right? So I went to raid somebody, and I saw this lovely lady who was doing some crochet with a charity in mind. And I thought that would be really good. She didn't have too many viewers, so I thought that would be a perfect person to give my viewers to. Poor girl looked just like I feel. You could see that kind of like, holy shit moment. And it was like, oh my god, people! So yeah, bless her. And she has exactly the same problem. She's used to a really small audience, and okay, Flusonville, take care, look after yourself, okay? Hope I'm not adding to it. Go through the hole. Stupid bobber. you. How are you doing? What have you been up to? Oh no, that feeling well. Hello. Hello, hello. Yeah, and yes, that's the only problem with vacations, is that the halfway mark often comes far too quickly. And yes, so yes, welcome to... Thank you for the follow. Yes, welcome. Hello indeed. Welcome to the chaos. I will preface this with it is not uncommon that we talk about utter crap while we're doing this. It is not as hard as it looks. It's also easy to completely get it wrong, but it's like whatever crafting you do, generally you probably have to count. Well, as a result, you will have noticed that you've been counting for many years, but the moment you have to do it with crafting, you're incapable. And it just doesn't seem to work out. And bobbin lace basically embodies that theory. Because, well, with bobbin lace, you have two moves. Demonstrated by my next thing, which is left over right. This is known as cross. And twist, which is right over left. That's it. Everything is made of those two moves and stabbing of pins. The problem is, it's amazing how you can get it wrong. I mean, at least with knitting, there's knit, purl and yarn overs and make one and decrease and, you know, cables. And no, we just have cross and twist. It is kind of surprising how many new and unique ways of getting it wrong you can find. The advantage is, of course, is that to undo it is the reverse of what you did. So if you crossed and twist, you twist and cross and it will have undone it. Put you out of the way for a minute and grab some of you. And of course we are blessed with the fact that you print out your pattern or you draw it on a piece of paper and whatever is underneath is what you do. The only thing is to be consistent. Well, thank you very much. I do appreciate the raid and the lurk and everything that goes with it. As I said, if anyone wants to ask any questions, they are very welcome to do so. I may not have the answers, of course, but I can try. Hello, EP. How you doing? How are you enjoying Borderlands? I think I saw you playing. That's pretty good going. I made a real dumb error yesterday. I managed to delete my best Path of Two Exile character. So after a lot of swearing, I've started again. I don't know how I did it. Well, I kind of know how I did it, but I don't know how I did it at the same time. In essence, because obviously, when they release a new league, they relegate all your old ones to the standard league. Well, chances are you're not going to play them. So I was having a clean out. And what happens is you go to the drop down and it says, you know, pick all of them. So you pick standard and you go and delete one and then it reverts to all. And I think somehow I deleted one under all rather than under just standard. And, well, it wasn't the one I thought it was. So, well, yeah. Kind of bummed about that, but there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, I don't play as fast as everybody else, and I was nearing the end of Act 2, so that's probably 40 something hours in for me. 50 hours maybe. Maybe more. Yeah. certainly something I could have done without, that's for sure. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, I am terrible at gameplay. And so it is not the end of the world in a lot of ways, but at the same time it is somewhat depressing, having done so well and tried so hard to... I mean, I am not gifted by the RNG gods. They do not like me in any game. The problem for me is I mean, I watch other people playing Path of Exile and they don't grind. They kind of... Even when we had like the Path of Exile 2 races just before the new season, they start with a totally blank account because it's a new league, so they can't borrow equipment and gems and money off anybody else or anything else. And they log in and they breeze through all the little trash mobs, get to the big boss mob, go killy killy killy, next, breeze through the trash mobs, find the boss, killy killy killy. I die to that boss mob every time. Or not quite every time, but 99.9% of the time I will die to the boss mob. And having watched what they do, I don't feel like I'm doing anything different. And I was talking to my neighbour the other day, and they were talking about how their brother's has been diagnosed as autistic with other tendencies, and she was saying how, you know, it runs in the family, so she likely has some of it, and you know, as a child, she never really understood. Yeah. Well, but this is kind of where it joined in, is that she found as a child that a number of times she'd be in with a group of kids and they'd be happy with her, and then suddenly she wasn't, and she didn't know what she had done or why she, you know, what she was doing different. And I said, but that's normal. That happens to me all the time. And the answer is it is something you've done, but they're never going to tell you what it was. Because they're too scared to tell you what it was. They didn't like something you said or something you did. And it'll be something really minor, but they don't like it, and that's it, you're done. And too much gameplay feels almost the same, is that you're doing what they're doing, you're doing what they're doing, and some minor nuance to what you do compared to they do, one makes them great at it, and it makes you crap at it. Now, some of it is timing. With Path of Exile especially, I find myself hitting heal pot and knowing that there is heal pot to have, or dodge and nothing happens and I die. And I do get really annoyed because I know I hit it before I was dead. I know that I tried to dodge. I know, but the game didn't. And now I do know that there are stuns. I do know that there is delay with the heal pots. But I know often I've been spamming that button and nothing's happening. And yet there is heal pot to have. I've also seen a bug where my heal pot doesn't refresh. And you have to go back to town, fill it, and then it will start refilling. But until then, that's it. You're stuck with an empty pot. Even if you sit in a corner with a load of regen, it is not happening. And if you kill loads of trash mobs, it still doesn't happen. And I think that's part of my problem, is that I almost don't want to have to put in the time and effort to find out how much more in advance I need to know to dodge before the game will accept that I dodged. Now, I do appreciate that in many of the games they do have the decency of telegraphing some of the moves for us, but not all of them. And so if I see, you know, a big monster about to smack me on the head with something, well, then I hit dodge, which is logical. I am reacting to the environment around me. And it's not like I've got slow reactions. It's, you know, I'm not the kid who catch the ball goes doink, bounce, and then I go, right? It doesn't happen. So it is very frustrating to hit... Oh, blimey! Hello! You got me back! Yay! Thank you for the follow. Hey, it's you. No worries, EP, thank you. Hello, people. So this is my usual habitat. No, these are not pens. Let me zoom in at right. Let me get this right. There we go. Zoomy. I was over zoom and then move a bobbin, don't worry. Right, so these are not pens. These are little sticks of wood that run all the way through, that I painted black and glued 4 beads on, because that's bead at the end. And yes, it does struggle to focus on that, especially with my hand in the way. And then a ball bearing at the top. So there is how to make them on my website, on my YouTube channel, because I made them on stream. They are actually very easy to make. The reason I wanted to make them is that I am not a faint and delicate kind of girl. I am a bit of a clumsy tomboy, frankly. So normal bobbins, hang on, we'll do one of my usual demonstrations, hang on. So normal bobbins would look something like this. Now that's fine. The actual bobbin part I have no problem with. It's the spangle, the beads at the bottom, because they flop and move and basically boil my autistic brain cells, so we don't like them. You then get other bobbins, and I've got wooden ones in this shape, but I just happen to have this to hand. So this is a plastic one, but you get these, which are quite nice. Then you get these, which I lovingly call toothpicks because, well, they're tiny and weigh so little it's ridiculous. I mean, if I sneezed right now, this would go flying. There are many other types of bobbin. I just don't have them to hand. So I wanted bobbins that were heavy. Now I do have some wooden ones that are heavy. Sorry, I've just dropped something. Hang on. Oh yeah, these are glued on. They're all super glued on. But you can't super glue the spangles so they don't move, which is the annoying part. So these beads are not plastic beads. These are metal beads. One of these weighs about 5 of anybody else, if not more, right? Now, that makes them not suitable for one kind of lace making, where you use a bolster pillow, which is basically a round thing like this, but on its own, so they dangle because it would be too heavy. But for kind of pillow work, they are absolutely gorgeous, and I love them dearly. They were originally going to have a little ring about here in the middle, which would help with the travelling of the ends of this. But the rings that were for sale, I got them and they said they were a certain size and lied. They were not the size they said. They were too big. So I couldn't glue them on because, well, they were too big. Really annoying. Because that would have been very useful. It looks more interesting sometimes than I think it actually is. I think it's a bit like magic performers. Once you know how they do it, it's not quite so hard and not quite so interesting, really. But I do have a table that loves to tilt, and I spend a lot of my time tilting it that way. Because even though all the weight's on this end and the middle's about here, it seems to tilt that way. And basically it tilts whichever way it is, and some directions are worse than others. But at the moment there's a knobbly... Won't go that far. Oh, you could. I absolutely promise you could do it. As long as you got fingers, you could do this. It is like lots of craft. It looks really complicated until you boil it down to the absolute how it works. So there are 2 moves: cross, left over right, and twist, right over left. That's it. Now, I do a bit of... Oh, honey, please don't think I've got patience. Oh, the language that can come out my face is... I'm surprised it's not burnt to a crisp. Believe me, I have no patience. I have more than once had to end streaming because I was mid-strop, you know? Oh, I don't know. Like everything, you don't start out making a net curtain. And as a result of not starting out not making a net curtain, one of the big advantages with this is you can literally stop at any stitch. So even if all you do is Yeah, so did I. Um, unless you're like 5, isn't that what everybody does? um, Mind you, these days Lego is nothing like what it was like when I was a kid. Lego when I was a kid, you got loads of little square bricks and you made kind of pixelated versions of everything. These days, it's all custom bricks, and you can't, while you might be able to make a number of things from the same set, you can't really use it in other things to make new things. Whereas in our day, yes, you have bright orange bits and some white ones and blue ones and whatever, but you could make anything into something else because they were all pixelated. So you had like the 4x2, the 3x2, a 2x2 and a 1, and then you had like the sticks. So you had like 8, 6, 4, 2, and you could make anything you like with those. These days, it's all custom brick, and you don't really do these, throw it in a big box and rummage around looking for these. This is Amazon's Feel Good 80s, I think. Upbeat 80s, there you go. No, I know what you mean. I'm not well known for patience. Stubbornness, yes. Patience, no. And they are very different. By the way, you have all joined in time for ads in 3 minutes. It is one of those things, is that it's hard to... Yeah, I mean, I don't have the excuse of children, so I haven't played with Lego for ages. Although, a friend's kid did struggle with one Lego thing, so I made it for him. And was really kind of surprised at all of the custom pieces, and it was kind of like, isn't this defeating the point a bit? No, there isn't. And I think that's part of the beauty of things like Lego, is that whether you're 5 or you're 75, you can still enjoy making something. Obviously, if you've got horrendous arthritis or something, then, it is a lot harder. But the fact is you can do quite a lot with Lego. And they've got a lot of things to make. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm just going to clear the deck a bit. Time over there. Alright. It is, and I think it encourages creativity, whereas lots of things that kids do today kill creativity. I used to do karate, and the number of kids stroke parents who could not take a patch and sew it on a piece of fabric, they had zero clues. I mean, no one was asking them to embroider the damn thing on. It's not like, here's a template, off you go. No, they were given a patch, and all you had to do was somehow attach it to your gi. So, running stitch around the edge, perfectly good. Over sewing it round the edge works just as well. Gluing it if you have to. They hadn't a clue. They had no idea to go up, down, up. They had no idea. No, but at the same time, if someone said, attach this, I'm sure you could manage something. It's not like, you know, judo where it's going to be potentially grabbed hold of. This is karate. The worst that's going to happen is it's going to get a thump. You know? Well, the number... Because I taught some classes for a while. The number of badges I had... Well, exactly. But these people had no clues. And so I got told off by our regional dude because I was, during the breaks, I was sewing badges for people. Because they had no idea and Mummy and Daddy didn't have any idea. And I got told off and I said, well, Sensei Liz isn't sewing on the badges. Their friend Liz is. He said. And it was the same when it came to Halloween. It was... More rain alert. For goodness sake. It hasn't stopped raining yet. Well, I did the Monsters Memories playtest last week. Or was it the week before? Possibly the week before. You know how my life goes. Which I enjoyed immensely. I do worry a little when the servers go live that there won't be enough stuff for everybody. Because the zones are really big and the mobs are spread out as you would expect in a 1v1 kind of scenario. But each zone has quite a big range of mob levels in it, so that, and as it can take hours to days to level depending on your level, it can be a problem that, you know, if you've got something 2 levels higher than you, there may be a really good chance you're not going to kill that. So anything that level or higher is out of the question. And, you know, you have to kind of find mobs that you're good at killing. And by the time you've done that, well, there's kind of like one of them. So you end up running around the zone like a chicken, trying to find, you know, all of that particular kind of mob to kill and at the right level. And I do worry that there's not going to be, it's not going to scale well. Now, I'm sure they're going to have more than one, you know, they're going to have a number of servers, but for the playtests, they've had 2 and a PvP, which I don't count because, well, I don't PvP, so, but 2 normal servers, and it can be an issue to find the thing that you wanted to do, which is something I never really found a problem with in EverQuest, which is the same style. I never had a problem finding something of my level somewhere that I wanted, didn't mind going to, kind of thing. And I don't know whether that's game knowledge, but even when I was starting out on EverQuest, I don't remember struggling particularly to find things to kill. I might struggle to kill them, but I didn't struggle for the right level and things to kill. I just was crap at it. So I don't know. But I am still looking forward to it. There'll be another play test in November, and they've mentioned there's likely a stress test before that. But stress test is not about playing per se. It is about stressing whatever they want stressing. Monsters and Memories. Hang on. So they'll be having another play test in November. They're looking to go into early access beginning of next year. But if you ever tried Pantheon, for example, it's 1,000 times far ahead of Pantheon. Now, they are one of the other things that I like about Monsters and Memories, not to harp on about it too much, but they do not want our money. They actively do not want your money. Unlike everybody else who's like, hey, you can spend $100 and get into early access, and you can spend, you know, money to maybe be in the cool kid club, right? They're not doing that. They actively refuse your money. Don't want it. So they're all currently working in their spare time for free, which, you know, and it's not a small amount of effort after all, as you and I know. So I have a lot of respect for that, because much like you and I, you know, we do what we do for nothing, but we're not making something that already seems to have 1,500 people trying to play it. They're having to pay for servers, they're paying for, you know, potentially for software, whatever. But, of course, you and I also know that one advantage they've got is by refusing money, they don't have to pay Unity any money yet. So, I can respect that. That seems like a good plan. Because then, of course, you know, it'll be saved for a good day, and people, you know, they are planning to have a subscription, but it will be the normal kind of subscription rate, but no box cost rate. So I'm kind of cool with that. So yeah, and they're just generally nice people, frankly. But if they do it right, because they're doing play tests, and maybe, you know, someone's got the money to front for that. Depends how much and who they've got to pay, I guess. But if they do wait till, let's say early access is next year. If they are in a position where realistically most games would have released, but they're doing early access to rid more bugs. They're trying to present to the world a fairly stable, polished game. Whereas, you know, I played Pantheon when it came out. It looked like something interns had done in 6 weeks. And I'm not being overly harsh at that point. I genuinely mean a bunch of interns with 6 weeks probably could have done something similar. There was kind of like one zone, there was, you know, 2 races. The animations and the clothing didn't fit, so as you moved, the head came out the hat, and one of the NPCs, the main NPC where you got all your quests from, his hands were glitching through the gloves, even though all he did was stand there. The buildings were like out of a set. It really did look like something a bunch of interns had done, and not something people had been working on for the best part of 14 years. I was very disappointed. Now, I do know that they decided at one point their graphics plan that they'd had originally, quote, wasn't sustainable. But after that many years, you'd have thought you'd have built most of the base, graphics. So to throw it all away and start again, but they seem to have thrown everything away and start again, did just feel a little bit rum, because, 14 years ago, I was watching the devs do playtests and demonstrations of a number of zones, and it all looked pretty playable. It kind of looked in the same state the same Monsters and Memories is in now. And then it kind of went really quiet for a really long time, probably because Brad McQuaid died, and that didn't help. But when they kind of resurfaced and went, hey, you paid us a lot of money back then, because it was looking promising, you can come join us now. And I logged in and it was like, what the hell is this? I could have written this. If I say use Cinti products, for example, I could have written that. I could have made something close to that in a month. What do you mean this is what you've got to show for it? I was very disappointed. More so because I paid them a lot of money. And so having been bitten a couple of times, so I did Shroud of the Avatar. And I'm not going to say it's a crap game, but the game that I bought into veered off very quickly, almost from the moment I did. And not in a direction that I was entirely happy with, to the point I don't play it anymore. Now, I'm not saying it's a crap game, it's just not what I wanted in a game. And so with that in mind, again, I bought quite heavily into that, because at the time it was exactly what I wanted. And it was looking good, and the way they were talking, it was going to stay in that direction. And then, of course, all of the, oh, I don't like this, oh, I don't like, from the big people, from the bigger guilds, and they bent over backwards and did what they wanted. And it meant that, well, it became a game that I didn't find enjoyable anymore. It became too easy, too sensible. I mean, to give you an idea, when I stopped playing, must be five odd years ago now, maybe even 6, they'd made a zone. And it was like a little cave, literally it's a cave, in a zone. And it was the place to be. So, and because it could instance, that's exactly what happened. Everyone went there, they got a group, and you could start at level 1, and you could group with the highest level, because they didn't really have levels, although there were below the skin levels, but the levels didn't stop you doing anything. And so, even if you were level 1, the mobs would all be red to you. But, if you stood at the back and you fired all of your things, everyone else kept, you pretty much had a job to fire 1 arrow into a mob, because that's how it worked. Oh, that's right, the door opened. I wondered why it suddenly got so loud. And everything would die. Within about 4 hours, you had max everything. Well, where's the point in that? If you're going to waste... I mean, much as I hate to agree with Pirate Software on something, one of the things I've never understood about games is when they allow someone who hasn't already done the job to skip. So, for example, if you can buy a game and buy a semi-max level character, irrelevant of how much it costs you, why would you take away playing the game? Because now you're done. If you're a max level character, there's only so many things you can do. And whereas at least when you're new and there's exploring and finding and growing into your character, if you arrive as a max level character, you've got no idea what it was like to get there, and you almost wake up in somebody else's body, because, well, you don't know what to do with it. You don't know how to handle it. You don't know how good these spells are, or which spells you want, or and so yeah, I will agree with him on that one. Is that, the chance to buy a game or buy levels just robs you of the chance of playing the game. Time to update the thing. So yeah, I love playing games, but I monumentally suck at them, and it takes me a really long time. I also play multiplayer online games and then don't speak to anyone and play them solo. So again, not exactly the way it was supposed to work. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So again, there is an element of issue for me, because the games are not designed for that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I was just checking I hadn't got it out of sync. What time is it? 25 to 5. Deciding whether I keep him going for a bit, or I bow out with grace and cook my Sunday dinner. It's a hard question, that one. Let's roll this up before it disappears off the back and I can't reach anymore. You see, that's something that I personally enjoy in some of the... Well, they're usually online, but single player games where you have difficulty levels. So you have like story level, normal, and I'm frigging fantastic at gameplay. I expect to fight to the death with an ant, right? And so I like the fact that there are stories that you can pick story level, and you kind of walk along to every mob and go, and it's dead, right? Because you have the experience of a battle, but not one where, you're dead in 3 seconds, you don't know what killed you, and, 4 hours later you still can't do it. Now, when I first started playing Harry Potter, because I played the day it came out, Harry Potter, that one part of it is you have to do the broomstick races. Well, it turned out I really suck at them. Well, 6 hours later, when you're still doing the same broomstick race, that's not fun. There is no fun in that. And I know that, as part of the Monsters Memory crew, people were discussing the random generator, because we all know it's random, and we all know that they don't actually stack it against us. But sometimes you want a pity offering. If you have failed like 40 times in a row on something that was supposed to be an even chance, just give us a skill up, dude. Just give us a bone. Just and I think games do need an element of that. And maybe, a bit like the turn off tutorial kind of option. There needs to be almost the helping hand scenario, in that whether it gives you a buff that makes mobs easier so that you don't actually change the level in the game, but means that you act like you've got a slightly better character than you have. But it's, again, a buff. And so it's not actually yours. You're still level 5 or whatever. And that's the thing. This is where I recognise I know I've not got patience, because often, let's say like the broomstick races, I would be 3 seconds short the first time, and I would get progressively slower because I'm getting more frustrated with it. And so there is zero chance I am going to succeed unless acts of God happen, right? And it's the same with Tokka. Tokka on the console, you had to come in the first 3 places on the first 2 races. So if you came first and 4th, that's it, you still can't progress. Well, not everyone's in the first 3, including half the NPCs, so why doesn't it apply to them? Because of course it doesn't. You can be last in every race and be the kind of indie racer at the back. Why is it then that games gatekeep you from playing the game you friggin' paid for? If you've paid $60-something or more for a game, I want to be able to play it. And if that means I need an easy mode, then do that. Now, in a sort of a massively online game, you can't really expect to change a whole level or a zone that you're in to suit you. They have to change you to suit the zone. So I think some form of buff that, +5 on all attributes or something that makes you a bit meatier, makes you able to join in with people who've got better gear, have had more time, and as you say, it's basically an XP booster, because you can now clear through mobs like you're better, but you're not. And so yeah, I kind of would like that in a game, and I struggle because I'm not a great games player, but I love to try. I've got tons of games on Steam. I suck at all of them. I'm trying to think of a single game I'd say I was good at. Oh, I had a mining thing. There was a mining thing you did. I did all right at that. I got to the end first try. I mean, it took a few hours, but I got to the end. I never failed a single level. Well, but if I win first time round, it was too freaking easy, dude. But it's that kind of... Excuse me, I've got hiccups. Yeah, and I think that's the kind of problem I have is I want to try it on normal. I want to believe that I should be able to play a normal game. I'm not saying I should have an easy time doing it, and I don't mind a few retries, but there's a few, and as we've agreed, hours later when you're still on the same one and there is literally nothing else you can do because you respawn in the same thing and the same boss aggroes, so you can't get out until you've killed it, you just delete it. If it is the childish rage quit at that point, because you are trapped. You cannot progress. And it's the same with the Tokka. If you can't come in the first 3, you cannot go on to track 3. Well, then it's a crap game. I should be able to play them. Because what if I'm great at every other track, just not the first 2? There needs to be scope for everybody. And I'm not saying it's an easy thing to balance. You need to teach people the fundamentals, and I think while they've done a lot of work for Path of Exile 2 in that they have made it a lot easier in that you no longer have coloured sockets on the gear and you have to have a stone that matches the colour, and so that really limits you. You can pick up, frankly, anything you like. And I like that. But there are still lots of things they don't overly explain. And, I'm dreading the day I ever get to the endgame system. Because if you've listened to people who play the endgame system, they talk in foreign language. They have almost like crop circle theories about things. And, you've got to do this first and that first, and this will guarantee you this. Why? Well, what makes you think that's going to happen? But somehow it works for them, and of course never does for me. But you know, I'm sitting there and I'm watching all these people and they've got like 4 or 5 support gems on all of their normal kind of skill gems. I think the most I've ever had was 3 on like 2 of them. And I don't seem to be able to get the resist gear. I then don't, you know, so, and even if I really concentrate on picking up stuff with the most resist, I then don't have the armour or evasion or energy shield to not die, because it didn't come with it. And so I die. And then if I have the resist, but then I don't... Yeah. And this is where I struggle when you get games and they have really big guilds of generally hardcore players. And the game ends up pandering to what that guild wants. And you see it quite a lot. EverQuest did it to an extent. Apparently Guild Wars did it to an extent. Lots of games, WoW did it to an extent. Oh, well, we got the devs to change this. Yeah, well, that's great for you. But us little numpties who are still in, you know, in the first graveyard don't need that. We don't need it to be harder. We already die. Thank you very much. You know, when the field is littered with my corpses, this is not the game for me. And I've done that. I have, like you, I have put games aside and deleted them because I just knew that they were never going to be for me. There were no making it easier options. There were no I'm just crap at this options. You basically had to be God. But it's true. There are, you know, the noobs and the numpties. I mean, noobs are new. Numpties are people who really just can't do it. And it doesn't mean they're wrong. But they're people who are not suited for that game environment, whatever, right? And they're people who can't get it. They're people who fundamentally just doesn't work in their head. And we're all good at different things. So if it doesn't work for them, it's not their fault. Because that's just not how they're made. But I'd like to think that most games have the ability to be enjoyed by most people, just not to the same level. And the problem with things like Path of Exile is, again, you can feel stuck in a point. So I often get stuck on the bosses at the end of acts. You get stuck on them because they are suddenly like 100 times harder than anything else you've fought. They use loads of spells and skills that you've not come across, so you have no resistance or practice with. And 20, 40 deaths later, you're sick of it. You don't want to be doing that, but there's nothing else for you to do because you need to move on. So you know, it's kind of why I like the RPG style game, is because let's say you go to this thing, you find some mobs of your level and they whoop your ass. Well, that's fine. Maybe they were casters, because casters always seem to do that to me. So you go somewhere else and you find some mobs of the same level who aren't. And oh look, you can kill those. Well then, once you're bigger, you go back to those casters and you give them a whooping yourself and go, ha ha ha, I have killed you now, right? There's always choices, and I think that's part of the reason I've always loved those kind of games, is that while there are quests to do, there is nothing making you do anything. If you want to log in and chat all day, you log in and chat all day. That's fine. If you want to craft all day, you collect materials and craft all day. If you want to only ever get to level 10, get to level 10 and then make another character like I do. I've got hundreds of them. You can do that, and there isn't a bad stigma about it. Now, obviously, there are the people who race to the top and want to be the server first, and yes, it is. I mean, I've always said that, you know, words are awkward because, for example, if you call me a silly cow, on a good day I'll laugh. On a bad day it will reduce me to tears, because a lot of it is not how you've said it, it's how I receive it. And numpty is one of those words that is hard to receive badly. And it's just because it's a bit like saying you're being a doofus. You know, what the hell did you do that for, you silly ass? You know, it is a kind way of going, yeah, you've got that all wrong, dude. No, that's not, never, you know, that's not a thing, right? And people, it's hard for people to take offence. Whereas so many other words, people get uptight about. You know, hey, you've got to be constructive. Well, if there's two ways to doing it and you're doing the wrong one, and I've tried suggesting the other one and you've gone, no, I want to use this one. Well, you're being a numpty because you're making your own life harder, right? And it is a kind way of, you know, it's a bit like there's 1,000 ways to say someone's an arsehole, right? And especially in England, and they all have varying levels of connotations on the degree of wrong, stupidity or abrasiveness they are portraying at the moment. And, you know, ranging from the magic C word all the way up to Muppet, right? It's something that I do struggle with because words are my nemesis in life. But numpties is a good word, and fills a bit of a void in the kind of range of explanations. So very much, it is a good word. I feel hungry. Much as I'd love to stay and talk with everybody, and do more lace, I am actually hungry. So we have completed inch 21. I need to take a photo of it for my thumbnail because that's the thing. There you go. There you go. Enjoy. It's not like you don't have 1,000 different ways to talk to me. So, but yes, for everybody else, I hope you've enjoyed our afternoon with lace today. I should be back kind of 26 hours-ish time tomorrow. I've got a doctor's appointment in the morning, so I'll either be in a mood or not. We'll find out. And because you know how those can doctors visits either leave you moody because they've given you something and you know it's just kind of a fob off, or they've given you bad news, or they hardly ever give you good news, let's truly be honest. So it's over nothing serious. Well, it depends on your point of view, but it's not physically serious, it's not life threatening, it's none of those. So worry not, it's only my mental health, frankly, so and my lack thereof. But we shall be back tomorrow, and we will be racing on to see if we can get through inch 22. It's funny how sometimes in a couple of hours I do an inch, and on some days 4 hours later and I still haven't done an inch. It's a bit like gameplay, really. It seems a bit randomly generated. And it's not that I feel sometimes, I mean, obviously like this, I've been talking at the end, so there's a bit of a gap. But sometimes it just seems that I must be on go slow, but I'm not aware of it. And other times I must be on fire because it's like, oh, well, that was quick. And we had the same with triangles. Sometimes it would take forever and I'd seem to have done nothing. And other days I'd have done a great chunk and go, how did I do so much? But I do like doing the strips because there isn't the turning. And the fact that we are now 21 inches in, that's nearly 2 squares. Yeah, that's nearly 2 squares worth of, and it's only been like 5 or 6 weeks. So we really are storming ahead, which is how we like it. It will be interesting. I mean, obviously, an inch a day, roughly, which suggests it's 7 weeks, but I don't think it is. I would have to check. Hang on. It's harder to check, I know that. Hang on. Content. So I started on the 15th of August. So that's a month. So in 1 month, we have done 20 inches. So, hang on. Interesting. If 20 inches is 1 month, it suggests we would take 13.65. But if we're averaging more than an inch a day, it should be less than that. Because, well, it should be less than that. Because that's like we've done 1/14 in a month. I suppose that does make it over 12 months, doesn't it? Stupid. I'll time it. Hello, Liz's brain cell. Have you woken up now? Apparently not. Anyway, time to go feed it and drink it because it hasn't had enough liquid today. Maybe that's its excuse. But yeah, we've done half a strip in a month. So strip every couple of months. But you see, then if you think of it that way, if it should be 1 strip every couple of months, yeah, it will be 14 months. So I guess the approximation is about right. It'll take 13.65 months. So, but it feels like we're making really significant progress because obviously with the squares, we worked out that because there are 18 squares and it took a month to do a square, it would have been 18 months. So we're saving, 5 months or so. So, I mean, we do then have to sew it together, which frankly will be challenging because I can't really do that on stream. Well, I can, but you won't be able to watch it because it's too complicated. Well, it's not too complicated to do. It's too complicated to hold it where you can see it and I can do it. Because I can't really do it at this distance. I have to do it with it stuck on the end of my nose. And if it's stuck on the end of my nose, you can't see it. Anyway, with that in mind, let me see if there's somebody good to raid. Because that's the polite and nice thing to do. See if anyone I know is doing anything good. Everyone's playing games except for Masked Bandit. I'm going to send you over to Masked Bandit today. So let me just set my computer up a little bit because that's a thing. Because otherwise I don't get to hear what they say. So anyway, let me do that, and I shall see you hopefully soon. Take care, everybody.